This is for the FTC students. You have now reached the point where you actually have to write code. Before you start writing code and putting on a robot, which is our end goal, we want to make sure that we can handle the equipment and handle the development environment. And so we're asking you to write code on a set of test systems that we've set up for you that are much easier to handle than a full robot. So if you look at your lesson, it says that you'll need a couple of things. You need to collect these things and you need to bring them to a lab bench. So we're going to learn first where the equipment is. Behind me, okay, is this big cabinet, which includes some of the equipment, but the first stuff I'm going to look for is the batteries. Down here, as you can see over here, this is where the batteries are stored. So what happens is that the batteries from the top here and below the batteries are the chargers. So before you pick up the battery, you want to make sure that the charger that's connected to that battery has a little green light on it, which says the battery is fully charged. The next thing you do is you disconnect the battery from the charger, and you do that by grabbing this little yellow connector and pulling it apart on both sides. Now, and only now, you can pick up the battery. So this is what your battery looks like. Now, we'll put it aside. Now we need to find the control hubs. We open up this cabinet, and the control hubs are along here. So there are 4 control hubs. There's 4 sets of gamepads, and then we have 4 driver stations along here. So if I pull out this control hub, I see it's software 1, and so now this is the control hub I will be using. In order to run a control hub, to operate it, you need a driver station. So let me put the control hub down and let me pick up the driver station. The driver stations are all being charged. So we unplug the charging cable and we bring the driver station out here. Notice this is also software 1. This driver station is paired to that control hub. It will not work if you use driver stations that don't have the same numbers on them. And so this driver station, as you can probably tell, is just an Android phone. Okay, so we have all of those set up. And oh, maybe one more thing we may need, not at the beginning, but a little bit later on, we need some gamepads. And so we take any of the gamepads, because the gamepads don't care what software we're running on. And so this is a gamepad. We have a pair of gamepads, typically a driver gamepad and an operator gamepad. It's generally called user 1 and user 2. So that's the stuff that you're going to bring, you're going to identify. When you're done with it, put it back exactly as you found it, okay? Exactly in the same spots, okay? Just don't throw it in there, okay? Be careful bringing it in. We're going to put this back in, the driver station back in, and then we're going to connect it, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring it over to the bench and actually set it up. So the first thing I'm going to bring over to the bench is my control hub. My control hub sits right here. Let's take a look at the control hub in a little bit greater detail. The control hub is this unit here. The off and on switch is this way. The 0 says it's off. The 1 says it's on, but don't worry about there's lights on the control hub that will tell you that. We need a battery. So I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to pick up the battery. Notice that what I'm doing is I'm picking up one thing at a time. I'm not going to try to pick all this stuff up and carry it over here because I don't want to drop it. Notice the battery fits right there in those little slots. That's the only place the battery belongs. Now, to connect the battery, I will look at 2 connectors here. They're both yellow. And if you look at it, they have a straight end and then a rounded end. You line up the 2 rounded ends and you push it together. And so now we have it together. Okay, now if I turn it on, now what I find is this blue light lights. So that tells me that this hub is ready, is starting to boot. When it's ready, it will turn green. So let's wait a moment. Well, I'm going to pick up the driver station while you see if it turns green. Because I am using software 1, it just turned green. Good. So because I'm using software 1, what I have is, I need to put my glasses on so I can see this. I need to use driver station 1, and notice that it says software 1 on here, software 1 here, software 1 there. I'm going to look at this on that driver station and see right up here, see that little icon? That's the first driver station. So I'm just going to tap on it and I'm going to open it. And what happens is you get this picture, okay? The picture, and by the way, this is all shown in greater detail in some of the documentation. It says, this is Cupertino Robotics software 1. It's hooked up to this control system, okay? And this is the ping, which says 3 milliseconds. That says about 300 times a second that the drive station is exchanging a message with the control hub. The message just says, hi, are you alive? And then the control hub says, yeah, I'm alive. And then it just goes that way. This button over here will be used to download teleop. This button over here is I'm sorry, this is autonomous and this is teleop. This button here initializes and runs the code that you would have. So now we set this down here. Now, right now, I don't have any software on this thing. So let's see how we get software into it. Just under the batteries is a container that has these orange cables, and these are the download cables. Notice what happens on these cables. There's a USB-C here and USB-A here. The USB-C plugs into the control hub. Now, if we look at the back of the control hub, it's kind of hard to see here. There's a USB-C, a mini USB, an HDMI, USB 3, USB 2, all kinds of stuff here. Make sure that this is plugged into the USB-C port. If you don't plug in the USB-C port, you get no results. So now we would take this and then we would plug it into a computer. So I'll just plug it into this computer right here. Make sure you plug it in the right direction. And guess what? Now we're ready to use it. Now, this is how you'd use it if you didn't need a gamepad. If you need gamepads, let me just go back over to the gray cabinet and I'll pick out a gamepad. And by the way, remember, this is any of the gamepads, okay? So we're not going to worry about which one we're going to use. Let me just get rid of this cable for a second. Okay. And now we have a situation where this is the gamepad. What you'll see with the gamepads go this way, is the gamepad has a bunch of cable in it. I'd like to make it shorter, but it's not going to work. Okay. And it has a hub and the 2 gamepads. The hub is hooked up to this little connector here. So what we do is we put the driver station in here, and we put it in so that we can open up a spring-loaded latch and drop it in this way. So notice now that the driver station is held by the spring-loaded latch. Now, in the bottom of this, you'll see this connector, and this connector should line up with a USB connection in the phone. Sometimes it doesn't line up very well. Do not push. I repeat, do not push. If you think that you're having trouble getting this cable into the phone, all you have to do is unplug it, peek inside of there, and then take a look at it and plug it in, okay? So now we have it this way. And so now I would have a situation where I could actually put motors on here. I can put all kinds of stuff on here and I can run this as if it would be a robot. This is 100% similar, 100% identical to the control system that you have in your robots, with one exception. Your robots has not only a control hub, but has an expansion hub because it requires phone motors. Okay, now, what do I do when I'm done? Simple. I go through and unplug this. I pull the, notice how I use my finger, open up the latch, pull out the phone. I will hit these buttons up here and I will exit. And now I'm going to turn off the phone by just pushing the power switch, power off. And so that's shutting down. I need to go over here. It's best practices not to unplug the battery, but turn off the switch. Now I go over here and I unplug. And notice how I unplug. I don't grab the wires like this. I grab the wires at the connector. I grab the connector, not the wires. And then I unplug. I now take my battery and I put it back. And as I go to put it back, I remind myself I need to plug it into the charger. Now, I put my phone away, and I need to also get that into the charger. And by the way, with the drive stations or the phones, we put them face down so we don't break the screens. And then I put my control hub away. Then finally, I put my Gamepad away. Now, I'm done, right? No, I'm not done, because I still have things here. So what is important is when you are dealing with this, this table has to be cleaner when you leave it than when you found it. So this goes right back into the little bin of all the other parts. This should get you started, and you'll probably have lots of questions. There'll be lots of your peers who know how to do this. And also, of course, a mentor would help you. Take care.